What you're about to see is a special behind-the-scenes look of how we recreated Peewee Herman to be in a rap battle against Hugh Hefner.
A buck rock bottle parodies! Hugh Hefner versus Peewee Herman!
I'm Matt Forio, and this is Chisel This. Here's a scene selection. I do have a very important message for my subscribers. So if you want to watch that first, you can click on the scene selection, or there are timestamps in the description to skip to whatever part of the video you'd rather watch first. So, Peewee Herman versus Hugh Hefner. Why? This is a rap battle that I helped create under the channel Epic Rap Battle Parodies. They are a parody channel of epic rap battles of history. Clearly a parody channel. What they try to do is recreate the style that Epic Rap Battles of History uses with characters that Epic Rap Battles of History doesn't want to use. ERBP, as it is abbreviated, has expanded to a group of aspiring creators collaborating online. Most of us never met in person. And we work together literally across the world. How across the world? Looking at our globe, yeah, Hugh Hefner filmed here, and Peewee filmed around here. That's online for you. Now, through a change in staffing on the channel, I've been nominated the official chiseler of the series. This doesn't guarantee I'll be performing lyrical surgery on every battle, but a short checkup at least is almost guaranteed. This battle exceeded a mere surgical procedure. This battle is my Frankenstein's monster. While Xander is responsible for the initial idea, I found every possible worthy connection to use between these two characters. Before getting to the lyrics and explaining the concept of worthy, let's analyze the portrayal of each character and why they're battling each other. I'll take the time to discuss how I built the character of ERBP's Peewee Herman, which, if you haven't gotten the idea yet, if you're new here, I played Peewee Herman. If you're a hardcore Matt Forio fan, you'll remember a rap battle that I made about 5 years ago between Peewee Herman and Steve from Blue's Clues. That was literally when I first started rapping. I'll be the first to tell you that I missed many crucial elements of the Peewee Herman character, and the first to tell you that I made up for that with this. So I had to invent two styles of Peewee that would work with the way that I sounded and with the way that I look. Sometimes it's more about creating a character for yourself than it is trying to be something that you can't and failing in the process. I look a little like Peewee in theory, but the largest problem that I encountered on filming day, and one that you probably didn't even realize, is that I'm Italian. I never thought I looked Italian, and I always wondered why. I discovered on filming day that it's because I had never slicked my hair back before. I did, and I looked like a Guido. So that was something that I had to accept and work around, ultimately creating my version of Peewee Herman. A version that would have to be consistent in behavior and movement. The character that you're playing must know what it's doing. You can't be all over the place, only sounding like the character sometimes, forgetting who you're supposed to be, or breaking character. The way I got into this character was pretending to be someone who acted and sounded the same way Peewee Herman did. Now, Xander casted me for this role, and I knew it was something that I could do, but it would be a challenge, especially physically working alone. I was the only person there on filming day. I am drenched. But I knew that I had the potential to be this character. I spent about 3 weeks studying his voice. One may think that you wouldn't have to, it's just nasally, right? Well, there's two other key aspects to Peewee's voice other than that. One is the clogged mouth effect. When Peewee is explaining something, he sometimes drops his voice down a little bit. Sounds like his nose is clogged.
You're a crooked man, or I'm gonna subscribe to the violence.
The second and most crucial part of the entire character was one that I completely ignored on my first rendition of Peewee Herman. It's the laugh, the angry voice.
I don't know how you keep it up with that pin above your mouth.
I spent 3 weeks basically performing tests on myself to determine where in the vocal range this sound came from. I thought it was the roof of my mouth, thought it was the back, I couldn't figure it out. I thought it might be part of a cough, but it wasn't until I got in the booth that I actually tried it. And I discovered a new part of the character personification that can really help you be that character, and it's adrenaline. From there on, I was able to control it. A big part of portraying Peewee, just recognizing that you can make whatever face you want in the booth, and then you don't have to make that face when you're doing the video.
Hi guys, I'm Peewee Herman. I'm gonna record my verse for Epic Rap Battle Parodies. Okay! Well, I don't know how you keep it up with our peanut butter balls.
I got water!
I forgot to tell you guys something. You know, 'cause your pals are only palimonies. 'Cause your pals are only palimonies. Oh, yeah, I forgot. And after you're deceased, look at their newspaper, you know, I see some things I really did. You know, 'cause look at their, you'll be a veteran remembered as an editor-in-chief. That was it.
The first time I ever did it correctly may sound familiar. It's the first thing that comes out of my mouth. Now, while writing and recording this, I had to selectively determine which parts of the lyrics would incorporate that sound and what lyrics would just be the nasal Peewee that was understandable. And for the parts where I used this inflection, I had to make sure that it was understandable. And it was necessary for him to enter this state at points of aggression, but I couldn't overdo it, and it needed to be understandable.
'Cause you're a crooked man who I'm gonna subscribe to the Bible and override your bicycle with my bicycle!
So you can tell that this was very precisely choreographed. Now, visually, portraying the character needed to be fidgety, schizophrenic, aggressively agitated, loopy, and excited for battle. Sometimes, though, he needed to appear hostile and defensive. So now that we've created a Peewee Herman, why put him against Hugh Hefner? Well, there's many reasons, and if you have enough reasons to support your creativity, it cannot be challenged. 1. Playboy versus Playhouse for obvious reasons. 2. Both have a sort of playhouse or playpen that they play with toys in. You'll see this touched on in the lyrics, no pun intended. An adult entertainer creating content that is overindulged in by younger audiences, and older audiences, but for the sake of the argument, let's say younger kids enjoy what Hugh Hefner makes. And a child's entertainer creating content overindulged in by adults, because adults really understand Pee-wee's humor more, and in some cases the cult following that Pee-wee had came from adults, not children. Both were involved in sex scandals, whether it be a little amount of scandals or a lot of scandals that were pivotal in their careers. Hugh Hefner's created a career, Peewee Herman scandals destroyed his career. This is another theme that we like to portray in the battle and a huge advantage that Hugh has over Peewee. 5. Simplifying the previous point, both were perverted entertainers. And 6. They are two entertainers who theoretically outlived their careers. Usually stars take their fame to their graves, but these two are alive and are both past their prime. In both cases, they can no longer be the stars that they're known for being because they've gotten too old. Hugh literally got too old, and Paul Reubens outgrew his character of Peewee Herman. Now, speaking of getting old and getting to explaining why Hugh Hefner wasn't an old man, aside from the fact that no old man is just itching to be a part of an epic rap battle, we casted Susan as Hugh Hefner because he looks strikingly a lot like Hugh Hefner's younger self. Hugh Hefner was a strapping young porn star, but currently is the 89-year-old entrepreneur, philanthropist, and editor-in-chief of Playboy magazine. He's really old. He's clearly no desirable sex god anymore, if he ever was. And that's a huge idea that we want to draw on in the creation of Pee-wee's Disses. Now, using a character in a rap battle, similar to anyone's honorary inclusion in anything, requires placing a huge magnet on the person's life, drawing all things relevant into the spectrum. By this property, we've amalgamated Hugh's entire life, and all things relevant to Playboy in this one character. This is similar to how the video game Super Smash Bros. Takes traits of the character's games or series that they come from, but do not necessarily belong to the original character themselves. One person is representative of the whole, and that's what we need in a rap battle. The same goes for Peewee Herman, who by himself is a fictional character living a life of a child in an adult's body. We assigned Peewee some traits and experiences of his actor, Paul Reubens, specifically because Paul's actions in real life severely affected the longevity of Peewee Herman's character, and the series and career as a whole. Now, a big theme in Pee-wee's Playhouse is using children's visuals and rhetoric as a medium for portraying dirty innuendos. This is, of course, masked by the face of a child, Peewee Herman, so it selectively appeals to all ages, depending on the experience of the mindset of the watcher. This was crucial and is possibly the largest overarching theme that we used in this battle. Almost every line has one meaning on the surface, and an explicit one hiding underneath. What explicit thoughts, you ask? This is the part where, if you don't want the sanctity of your mind spoiled, you can use the scene selection to go somewhere else. However, the majority of this video will be explaining the lyrics, and that's where all the innuendos are. Now, it's only right that this battle displays dirty and raunchy ideas. And part of my challenge was finding a balance where kids could understand the surface and matured teens and adults can take it a bit further. It's being dirty without being dirty, and that's what Pee-wee's Playhouse was all about, and that's what I did here. This is not representative of my mindset, not representative of who I am or who I portray myself to be. I hope that you take it as me being creative and finding a way to make a battle like this and have it not be explicit or use vulgarity, for that matter, on the surface. We're going to set up a scoreboard to see how many lines fit the same category by referencing something entirely different but relevant to approach it. 1. Pee-wee as the perverted sex offender, meaning his career plummeted off of sex, with or without himself. 2. Hugh as being a perverted sex defender, meaning his career prospered off of sex. 3. Pee-wee being a child. 4. Hugh being an extremely old man. 5. Errors in Pee-wee's philosophy. 6. Errors in Hugh Hefner's philosophy. 7. Comparing Playboy to Playhouse. 8. Specific events in each character's timeline. 9. Hiding sexual innuendos beneath Pee-wee's childish innocence. And 10. The big kahuna, sex jokes. And they're all jokes, not representative of my character, just the character I played. And that's what acting is. Sometimes you have to be someone different than yourself, and that's what makes you a better actor. I'm the complete opposite of everything that these two people stand for. But this is a test of seeing if I can look into the mind of someone else, be that person, and portray them while being completely different from them. Miscellaneous references to Pee-wee and Hugh's appearance and personas will not be categorized. So without further ado, let's start tallying the right way.
The difference between Playboy and Playhouse is simple. You took my title and stuck a width in the middle.
We start the battle by explaining why they're battling indirectly. Notice that the comparison of Playboy and Playhouse is not the punchline. It's the layup. Therefore, we give the audience a preface of what they're about to see, and then use that to make it a further joke. By sticking with between the words play and boy, as shown on screen, you get play with boys. Hugh basically acknowledges the question that this battle is asking in a sarcastic manner, which he and all of us know is not the legitimate answer as to what the difference is between Playboy and Playhouse. He's like, I'll tell you what it is. This guy plays with boys and I play boy. Simply put, Pee-wee is the pedophile and Hugh is just the cougar. As you all know, an assumption can be more disworthy than a fact is. Was Pee-wee a child sex offender? Maybe, maybe not. But the exaggeration of the possibility is why it is funny. We're giving points to category 1, 7, and 10.
I'll have to riddle against a little kid who didn't take his Ritalin and giggles like his nipples got twisted but think it's sickling.
Hugh shows his rapping ability here by throwing in some nasty rhyme scheming, saying, I guess I'll have to rap battle this kid who's really only popular because he neglected his ADHD diagnosis and used it to create this persona. And the second half of the line insinuates that Pee-wee is naive. If Hugh were to physically beat him up, which would require touching Pee-wee, Pee-wee's childishness would interpret it as tickling as opposed to brutality. He would enjoy the man touching his nipples instead of feeling pain from it. It's like that SpongeBob episode where Flats the Flounder beats up SpongeBob and SpongeBob doesn't really feel anything and actually likes it. This point goes to category 3. Pee-wee living in a child's body.
Wishing Miss Yvonne would kiss you right where it hurts, man. But with that Pee-wee, you'll never be heard, man.
Now, there's a lot of possibilities while referencing Pee-wee's name, most of which would be something like, your little Pee-wee can't handle my skill. Or, in the original, while your little Pee-wee couldn't even please the chairs that you talk to. However, when we dissect the vocabulary, we have more options, and I'll be making a video about that soon, so stay tuned. Pee-wee Herman. Break it by syllables if you have to. The line writes itself if you go deep enough. P equals tiny, wee equals wiener, her equals belonging to a girl, and man means that he would be belonging to that girl. Pee-wee is frequently seen to be having sexual tension with a woman named Miss Yvonne, but that's just the propeller of our idea. Where we push our boundaries is the first line. Usually, children fall and get boo-boos and ask mommy to kiss it and make it better. Hugh is suggesting that Pee-wee's only method of ever getting a kiss from Miss Yvonne is by obtaining a boo-boo like a child would and asking her to kiss it to make it feel better, or kissing it where it hurts. However, Pee-wee may use this to his sexual advantage. Pee-wee might make his Pee-wee hurt, so that Miss Yvonne will kiss that. Points go to category 1, 3, and 10. But no matter how hard he tries, with that Pee-wee, he can't be her man.
Your rising action climaxed in the previews when Pee-wee was coming in theaters. near you.
This line was some people's favorite. Some people didn't get it. So here we go. Now, I mentioned when I did a battle with Peewee and Steve, I didn't look into Peewee as much as I should have. In fact, I completely overlooked the incident where Peewee's career plummeted. His actor, Paul Rubens, was caught touching himself in an adult theater. His arrest and mugshot deemed Peewee's face unacceptable by society. Obviously, if he's in an adult theater, plenty of people will be doing the same thing, but because it's him and because he got caught, we manipulate it. He's just the unlucky guy that the police pointed their flashlight at. I regretted not putting a scenario in my battle where the cops came and asked where Peewee was, and Steve said that he's coming in theaters near you. But what does that mean? Coming in theaters near you is a phrase commonly said at the end of trailers for movies to promote the method in which people would go see that movie in a theater that's local to them. Coming in theaters and coming in theaters are two different things. A movie does one, Peewee does the other. But we can push this even further. When can this phrase be heard? Think about all the connections that this phrase has to it. Well, during the previews before the movie starts. So already, if Peewee is coming during the previews, he probably wouldn't last very long in bed. So we mentioned previews, but send it even further. Tie in the movies more. In stories and movies, there is a pattern in which the story unfolds. Exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, resolution, or denouement. We use both rising action and climax as sexual innuendos. I think you can understand where this is going. We use story steps as a method of giving story steps to how this event unfolded. In the previews, his rising action climaxed, and what comes after the climax? The falling action. And what happened after this climax? Peewee's career fell. Points to 1, 8, and 10. And now Peewee Herman comes in with his iconic laugh through the door.
A bunny suits you well the way you hop around town playing show and tell.
A bunny is the mascot of Playboy. Hugh can be seen wearing suits, while the girls wear their birthday suits on cards or pieces of literature where the suits could be bunnies, because cards have suits. A bunny suits Hugh well. Now, Hugh the bunny rabbit will be hopping around all over town, playing show and tell, or showing everyone his wiener. Notice the way Peewee says this, though. He uses show and tell, which is a child's activity that would be no stranger to his playhouse, as a metaphor to reference Hugh sleeping around with girls. The sleeping around metaphor continues within the next few lines, but this is the first of many lines where Peewee exercises his own childish naivety to cover up a secret sexual meaning behind it, just like the show does. Points to 2 and 9.
Making beds rock out of wedlock of the law. I don't know how you keep it up with that pin above your nose.
Now, I actually came up with the second half of this line first, but the objective is to not make that decipherable. You don't want to just throw something in that rhymes with the next line as a scapegoat to just use that next line. You should pack every ounce of beef you can into this package like you're working at ShopRite. The first line actually did come first, but not for the battle. I'd come up with it back in March as an old rap lyric in my phone, but like most of the ones that I come up with on the go, it's too out of my character to use in one of my own songs. So I found a good use for it here. It continues into the next idea and takes the place of a common filler, useless, you suck line. Hugh has been with many partners and spouses over the years, having sex with many women out of wedlock. Referencing Hugh's iconic pinball machines, we can again dissect the word to find many more uses for it. Pin, ball, writes itself. Pin is a small wiener, where balls are balls. Old people also have a hard time keeping it up, so it shocks Peewee as to how Hugh can get with so many women, and he questions whether or not it's even true. Give him points to 2, 4, 6, and 10.
Pals are only palimonies. You'll be a veteran remembered as an editor-in-chief.
Going back to wedlock, we use this link to continue the suggestion that Hugh was only famous for having sex. A palimony is the division of financial assets and real property on the termination of a personal live-in relationship wherein parties are not legally married. Instead of Peewee saying, I have tons of pals and here are all their names, we use words that give this information in as little amount of syllables as possible, to leave room for the main idea. By saying, your pals are only palimonies, we know that Peewee has pals of his own. Now, Hugh fought in the war. It is a very honorable accomplishment, and here on Chisel This, we thank all of our servicemen for protecting our country. But this is a rap battle. Instead of saying, go back to fighting in the war, which is in no way an insult, in fact could be a compliment, we again just give the audience this information in as little amount of words as possible to focus on the main idea. The bigger idea that is Hugh, while being a veteran, will not be remembered as much for that as he will be for creating Playboy. We can use the link after you're deceased because it's fitting with a man of his old age. After his death, which Peewee assumes to be soon considering his age, he will be a veteran, only remembered as being the editor-in-chief, not the chief of a military branch. However, if Hugh were to experiment with bisexuality, maybe he was the editor inside the chief during the war. This foreshadows the last line of Pee-wee's verse. This couplet awards points to 2, 4, 6, and 10.
Gee, you're a crooked man, or I'm gonna subscribe to the Bible and override your bicycle with my bicycle!
We now venture into Hugh's philosophy and sexuality. According to Wikipedia, which just gives us general information, and we know that this is true because we can find it elsewhere, after it was rejected by Esquire magazine in 1955, Hugh Hefner agreed to publish in Playboy the Charles Beaumont, wherever you say that, science fiction short story called The Crooked Man, about straight men being persecuted in a world where homosexuality was the norm. After receiving angry letters to the magazine, Hefner wrote a response to criticism where he said, if it was wrong to persecute heterosexuals in a homosexual society, then the reverse was wrong too. Now, Hugh is obviously an advocate for homosexuals, so instead of subscribing Hugh to Playboy, which is how people receive the magazine, Pee-wee wants to subscribe Hugh to the Bible, so he can get a monthly subscription of scripture, as opposed to naked women who only enhance his philosophies. Also a reference to how, as of late, Christianity is under persecution for not supporting homosexual marriage. Now, if Hugh is a crooked man, it means he's not straight. Isn't he straight? Well, according to BBC News UK, after Hugh's first divorce, he apparently ventured into some drastic rebound techniques, including bisexuality. This, as well as the fact that he preaches against the persecution of homosexuals, is enough to allow Pee-wee to suggest that Hugh is in fact somewhat bisexual, or at least had a cycle in time where he was bi. A bicycle that Pee-wee will erase from history by riding over it in his bicycle. Clever wordplay gives points to 2, 6, 9, and 10.
With my bicycle!
Your schizophrenic message poisoning a generation. Try and gaze on the mansion while you're enslaved in your basement.
Pee-wee's show could have arguably influenced children to be manic, frantic, introverted. We use another line to compare Playboy to Playhouse and how Hugh has an advantage over Pee-wee in this way. Instead of just saying Hugh has a mansion, we compare its structure to that of the literal underground one that Pee-wee looks like he does his show in. It's just assumed to be underground. We can clearly see sky in the background, but it just looks like the set was designed in someone's basement. Now, this is also a nod to me, being the self-proclaimed king of the basement, having made my own original Peewee Herman set in my basement the same way that it looks like Peewee Herman's set made theirs. Points to 5 and 7.
You're a nerd hippie, I'm a strapping geriatric gladiator, and I'll have you running like a fidgety refrigerator.
Hugh's best advantage over Pee-wee is arguably his social status. There's 100 things to say about how they're different socially, but we can't clog the battle with them. A lot of people consider Pee-wee to be a nerd or a hippie with the way he speaks, behaves, or decorates his basement. Meanwhile, Hugh is strapping, meaning that he's good-looking, he slays, or just a reference to strap-on toys. He's a gladiator, meaning he slays women in bed, and a geriatric, which is a strong word coming out of Hugh's mouth. A geriatric is an old person, especially one who receives special care. I guess you could say marrying a girl in her 20s while you're 89 is special care. He uses a word that would be derogatory against him, but it is complimentary considering how he's still kicking at a geriatric age. Complimenting the reference to Pee-wee being a nerd hippie in his behavior, we reference the infamous prank call and refrigerator running incident with a pseudo-kangaroo or marsupial word, fidget, which can be seen and somewhat heard in the word refrigerator. Pee-wee would prank call people with his friend Randy, ask if their refrigerator was running, and then get threatened to be arrested by the person on the other line. Give him points at 2, 4, 5, and 8.
All the prank calls you think won't tank till you underpay the interest. I'm cured in your spank back.
But if he got arrested from the prank call would have tanked. Hugh here is using a form of sarcastic encouragement, suggesting that if Pee-wee doesn't stop, he'll learn on his own. You better stop doing that or you're gonna find out. But when will he learn? Well, when he underpays the interest accrued in his spank bank. This line is an example of taking one idea and using the language of another idea to reference entire parts of the original idea that this new idea propels. There's layers. We can relate this line back to Hugh's first verse, Finisher, where Hugh uses movie and story lingo to describe Pee-wee's movie incident. This time he uses banking terminology to describe Pee-wee's incident of hoarding images of underage people. Underpay equals underage. Interest in banking equals interest in children. Accrued interest in a bank equals building images or interest in a spank bank, where he keeps all these images. Basically, if you underpay what you owe to a bank, you get in trouble with the law. Your money would be falling short of what the law's legal minimum is. If your spank bank also includes items that are short of the law, This time, if the age does not meet the minimum by law, you get in trouble with the law. It's about paralleling two ideas and how they're similar, this being one of the meatiest lines in the battle. We're gonna give points to 1, 3, 5, 8, and 10. Wait, doesn't Hugh have something to do with pornography?
Think I forgotten from watching me lay it down? No, I just had more versatile toys in my play.
Ah, Hugh establishes the ultimate stance on Pee-wee's problem. Hugh creates the kind of content that Pee-wee's career was destroyed because of. Does that mean he wins? He also says that he has more versatile toys in his playhouse, meaning that his version of plastic toys are ones that can be used for sex, not just for show and tell. Overall being more versatile, handy, or multi-purposeful, if that's a word. With Hugh earning points here for 1, 5, 7, 8, 9, and 10, how does Pee-wee react to what sounds like an irrefutable win?
Not one good joke.
I guess you can't stand up. Thought you might stop motion if your heart rate goes down.
Pee-wee's famous appearances on David Letterman include him doing stand-up comedy. Among Pee-wee's stand-up acts, he would often start with a joke, or by saying,
"Hey, any good jokes lately?"
his jokes could take 5 minutes to explain an entirety, kind of similar to how long it takes for me to explain the stuff that I make. Pee-wee pleads to Hugh that your verse is already over and you haven't said one good joke? Well, I guess you can't stand up or do stand-up comedy. But it also references Hugh's age. Not only can he not do stand-up comedy, but his brittle body probably can't stand up either. Also, he might die or he might stop motion if he keeps trying to rap or to get energetic. The stop-motion video technique is iconic and revolutionary in Pee-wee's Playhouse. Also, if his heart rate goes nuts, or moves towards nuts, meaning he begins to love nuts, the male kind of nuts, it won't be pretty. Do you see how we pick a word to describe his heart rate increasing, but also in turn add a whole new meaning to the line just with one word? It's about making the best out of the space that you have. Points to 4 and 10.
On the mind of a child, it only uses to crack your code. Add some 49 more shades of red to your bathroom.
After saying Hugh is very old, Pee-wee continues by saying that Hugh's maturity, however, is that of a child. A horny little child. Pee-wee knows the mind of a child as well, as he has to think like one in order to maintain his career. And he can use that to understand what Hugh is really all about. He explains it throughout the rest of the verse. Also, Hugh might want a child's mind, brain, or head near his crack. It's all how you interpret it. I'm not saying anything. Pee-wee makes a reference to pop culture, as he did in multiple public appearances, to exaggerate the irrelevance of Hugh in today's society, suggesting that his version of sexual literature is overshadowed by the Shades of Grey trilogy. It's like, who is this guy writing or making things about sex? I thought that 50 Shades of Grey did that. Now, instead of just saying that Hugh has a red bathrobe, which in the original lyrics said that make Hugh's bathrobe even redder, we use that parallel in sexual literature to consider his robe as being one shade of red, and Pee-wee bludgeoning him with raps enough to add 49 shades of blood red to his pre-existing red bathrobe. Points to 2, 6, and quite literally 9. Also 10. Just 10 applies to everything. Okay, 10? Pee-wee tries to turn the tides, saying, if Hugh tries to be slick and tip his sailor hat, Pee-wee will turn that around and tip Hugh's sailor boat. If Hugh wants to make jokes about Pee-wee's sexuality, fine. Pee-wee will take that head on and quite literally come at his throat. Now that Pee-wee has absorbed all of Hugh's tactics, he's going to ask and answer a question that will ultimately crack Hugh's code. And the code cracker is in the crack.
We both play plastic toys, but why?
Acknowledging the matchup, Pee-wee notes that both parties play with plastic toys, but for different reasons. Pee-wee uses his iconic quote, "I know you are, but what am I?" to suggest that Hugh is at fault for playing with these plastic toys, but Pee-wee, by playing with them, is innocent. But how is Hugh at fault? Well, remember how we separated words earlier to add different meaning to them? Well, I thought for a while about how I could repurpose this quote. The answer was just in repositioning the comma. We make Pee-wee talk to Hugh's butt. Not but the conjunction, but the butt. He suggests that Hugh's butt, or Hugh's crack, is the one playing with the toys. I think you get where this is going. The crack is how Pee-wee cracks the code. This whole sequence gives points to 2, 6, 7, 9, and 10.
Inside your form of literature as other kids on calendars. You're no entrepreneur, your category is amateur.
Notice the rhyming here. Not all parts have to rhyme exactly, but certain parts Certain stressed parts have to rhyme exactly, and you'll find that some of them do rhyme exactly. In fact, notice the rhyming everywhere. I put so much rhyming in here. Literature can refer to stories, but it can also refer to promotional papers or magazines, etc. Peewee makes a daring reference to otherkins, which is the popular term for a human who truly believes they are an animal. Don't ask. The point is that Playboy bunnies, or models, dress like bunnies, or are otherkins. We show Peewee holding a calendar that has a bunny on it to parody the half-naked hybrids. Hugh is an entrepreneur, but Peewee thinks that his work is quite amateurish, referencing the often joked about genre of pornography, amateur. This is one huge point for number 6.
Flossy in your drawer and the mark with those little screws.
We all scream when we say use if the secret word was here.
Capitalizing on the old man agenda Peewee has against Hugh, Peewee makes a threat. This kind of threat carries an assumption of something else with it, so it's good to have lines that kill multiple birds with one stone. Peewee wants to stick Hugh back in the morgue. He's assuming that Hugh is dead and is already in a morgue, saying that basically Hugh is a corpse that came back to life just for the purpose of rap battling against Peewee, just because he looks so old. The only way he were to escape from the morgue, or the drawer that he's stuffed in the morgue, where they keep dead bodies, is if the screws that open and close this drawer were to be loose. This is also a reference to how Hugh's screws may be loose, a euphemism for Hugh being crazy. We also give motive in the next line. Peewee wants to do this because of how old and scary Hugh looks. This references how in Pee-wee's Playhouse, Peewee has a secret word that he pulls out of his pocket. Every time this word is uttered throughout the episode, all the characters have to scream in excitement. The screams when they see Hugh, however, are screams of terror. Since we're already screaming when we see him, it's as if the secret word was Hugh. It propels an idea by recreating the order of events of another idea. You see now how much goes into these lyrics. We also paid a lot of attention to Pee-wee's Playhouse and what Peewee does in it. Xander actually textured each of these backgrounds himself, so give this man a huge pat on the back for doing an amazing job at creating these 3D models. Each of us were pivotal in making this happen. I for the lyrics, Xander for the visuals, Froggy for giving second opinions on our ideas and also giving his ideas, and both Tuzin and I for our performances. Want to give a huge happy birthday to Froggy. Froggy, happy birthday, you're a great guy, great friend. It's been a while since I've been sitting here making a video like this. It's because of school and work. This is not a job for me. In fact, I'll monetize this video and make $3 off of it. School is basically swallowing me whole right now. You'll know that I use that phrase if you see me in the comments. I've just been working on this episode for weeks, just dispersed, because I can't even find time to film. Right now, I've been filming for 1 hour and 7 minutes. I just don't have that time on my hands every day. For my angry subscribers who want to see the epic rap battles of history, top and bottom 5 list, there will be a top 5, the best 5 epic rap battles of history in my opinion video. There will also be the 5 missed opportunities in epic rap battles of history. There may be more than 5, but these are the 5 worst missed opportunities. I don't want to say that any epic rap battles of history are necessarily bad, because every single one of them has a production value of a movie. So you can't say that they're bad. I just want to touch on the missed opportunities that I've seen and what I would have done differently. And the reason this is taking so long is because I just don't want to give you a list of 5 battles and send you on your way, because I can do that right now in a minute. I want to actually create content that will give you an idea of what something could have been if it was spun differently. So for that reason, that episode's taking a little bit longer, but it is in the production stages right now. I'm writing it. In the meantime, you might see a video or 2 on this channel that's not that. Don't get discouraged. It's on the way, and I'm thankful for you coming here from the Epic Rap Battle of History Chisel This episodes, but I want you to know that that's not the primary content on this channel, because while that takes so much time, it's ultimately a sub-content to someone's content, and that's not who I am. It's not who I've ever been. I intend to make a series called A Rap Story. I want to tell stories of things through rap, whether it be video games or experiences, or even give lessons about what things are in rap form. So if you have any suggestions for that, please tell me in the comments. If you want to skip back to the beginning, you can click right here. Otherwise, this has been Chisel This. Just know that you are on board for this. This is a linear thing. We're just gonna keep going off the globe. make sure you subscribe because I'm gonna be making a lot more content, I promise. That's 4 day. See you guys later.
Yeah. Wait, do you want to do the laugh actually for like the part with the door? Calm down. I hope you're doing this diagonally. Are you doing this diagonally?
Yes, you can't stand up. Yes, you can't stand up. Yes, you can't stand up.
This is cracked.
Ow! Oh! How was it?
What, did you put a piece of spiked cement under there?
No, I put a pad.
God.
You've been watching Epic Rap Battle Parodies.
Ah! I love to rap now, I'm a rapper!
Is that it?